to what's going on. So, y'all know I'm out of the state of Florida. And the state of Florida done got all these immigration checkpoints now. On point. They checking your immigration status. They checking to see if you can read, write, and understand English. They checking all that stuff. They got like this border. So if you coming into Florida, man, you better make sure you right. You gotta, they checking everything. So that means if they checking everything, they can just pop you from for a level 1 right then and there. So you gotta make sure everything right. You gotta make sure your truck right. You gotta make sure your logbooks is right. You better be on point getting inside of Florida. You do. And some of these other states now, they're starting to up all their inspections and everything like that too. So I was like, man. So what I decided to do, right? Because I booked this load that I pick up tomorrow. I'm gonna be running in these states that got all these checkpoints going on. Because when I start putting in those states, oh yeah, the offer, we talking about just the offer, what the brokers are offering, going to those states, it's like $235, $240 a mile. I'm like, well, sign me up. Bet, sign me up for real. The load that I booked picking up tomorrow is paying $289. Now y'all can be like, well, it's because of Labor Day. It could be because of Labor Day, or it could be because some of these drivers that know that they ain't right, and some of these companies that got these drivers that they know that it's not right, are not sending their drivers to those particular states. So now I'm like, well, so I look for another load, because this load delivers Tuesday morning. So I look for a load, and then like this load is that I booked is taking me to Alabama. The rate was so good, I was like, I just went on ahead and just booked it. I mean, it was paying $249 already a mile. So I'm like, well, I know nobody's not in the office, so I had the option to book it. So I just went on ahead and just booked it, right? I'm like, nah, let me just go ahead and get this now. Because other loads that was going to similar areas, as I'm looking at them, it's coming like this load has been already booked. This load has already been booked. And after the third one did it, I got down to this particular load and I seen it, and I just was like, okay, that got like book it now. I just went on ahead and hit book it now. Go ahead and book it now. Because he's already paying $249 a mile. So I'm like, well, ain't no need to be trying to call somebody on a Sunday at this time before Labor Day. You got to book it now. Well, I'm finna go ahead and book it now, because other loads I was looking at, like I said, man, they was getting off, already booked. As I'm looking at the load and scrolling down, looking at the load, it's popping up already booked. I'm like, man. So I saw this one, $249. I just went on ahead and booked it. I'm like, these next two loads that I got, they paying in the $240s a mile. Now they going in these states where they cracking down on this immigration and they, in English proficiency. But maybe I need to keep hitting these states, going from this state to the other state. They're having these crackdowns. Maybe it's gonna keep all the people with suspended licenses in this country illegally, can't speak English. It's gonna keep them from going there, and companies are not gonna send their drivers there and book loads going there, because then they're gonna have to worry about getting the load there and put another driver there. So it could be less competition in those particular areas. And then I look for loads from Alabama. Like I found a load picking up in Tennessee from where I'm delivering to in Alabama. And then that load for Tennessee is going down to Florida. from Tennessee. So I'm like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Because it's picking up 119 miles away from where I'm delivering to in Alabama. And so I'm trying to get back to Florida, because, so I can work on my APU. So I looked at that load. I actually looked at about 3 loads that is actually going back into Florida. And you talking about 719 miles going into Florida, and they paying $1,800 going back into Florida next day delivery too, back inside of Florida. So I'm like, man, and I'm seeing all this. I saw 18, saw 17. The other 3 was about 16, 1660, 1650. One was 1680, and for a 1-day load. The furthest one was 729 miles was the furthest one going into Florida. So I'm like, man, well, if they cracking down on these places, let me go ahead and run in these places where they cracking down at. Because, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I know my logs is legit, my truck is legit, my trailer is legit. You can check it all you want to. Especially all this work I done on, and all these tires I done put on my trailer and everything like that. So I'm like, good, yeah, you can check me all day long. But I'm about to hit this money. If I got to stay in the areas and just run back and forth in the areas where they're paying more money because they're getting less truckers at, well, that's what I'm going to do. I just run inside those particular areas. I'm like, why not? If they paying over $2.35 a mile, well, just let me just run inside those particular areas. And now, because even the loads getting up out of Florida, listen, if they're not coming into Florida, that means even the ones in Florida that's here, that's driving illegally and everything like that, because we didn't have some of those inside this state. They driving around here and they're not in this country legally and everything like that. Now I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked yet, I'm going to look tomorrow. I'm going to be looking for loads. So if I do take that load from Tennessee, one of the Tennessees to Florida loads, I can get another load coming back out. And it'll be delivered on Thursday. So looking for a load coming out of Florida on Thursday. Even if it goes up another $200-300, because normally I get loads coming out of Florida going to Alabama, Georgia, or South Carolina for between $600 and $700. So even if it brings it up another $200, I'm like, well, okay, I can do that. Because a lot of times I get a load out of Jacksonville and take it up to Tennessee, and that load pays about $700. So it still pay okay, because it's 379 miles for it. The load is, and they be paying like $650-700, for that. So it's still good for a Florida rate. So normally I jump on those, or I get a load out of Lakeland, Florida, and I take it up to Alabama, or from Tampa, and I take it up to Selma, Alabama, to the international paper there, and they pay between $650 and $700 that I normally get those loads for too. But it's a day load to get me up out of the state of Florida to get me to another state that pays a lot better. So I'm from Florida. My business plan, my business budget is based off of me in Florida. Okay, I don't stay in these other states where you can get a 300-400 mile load paying $1,400-1,500. It don't work like that in Florida. People talk about Florida rates, but when you stay in Florida, your business have to be based, including that into your business, knowing that you only going to get out of Florida for between $600 to $700, maybe $750 if they desperate. A 2-day load in Florida, you're going to get out anywhere from $1,200 to $1,600, depending on where they at for a 2-day load. And sometimes that's because it's like 819 miles, 900 miles, something like that. So it's a 2-day load. But I try to average $1,000 a day when I run. And it's easy for me to average $1,000 a day when I run, when I pick up a load for $700. And then my next load, I'm getting $1,400-1,500 for a day. So Now my 2-day average will get back up to $1,000. Sometimes it take me 3 days to get that average back up to $1,000. So by my Wednesday load that I'm delivering Thursday, now for those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I didn't have those 3 loads, now I didn't average my $3,000 that I need. You know, in business, you can do a weekly plan or you could do a monthly plan. I do a weekly plan. So I got a certain amount of money that I need to make for the week. So just because one day I don't reach that goal, it doesn't not necessarily mean I'm not going to reach my end of the week goal what I need to reach. Sometimes you got to take a smaller load to get you to a bigger paying load in a better area. So that way you can do it. But I average $1,000 a day. That's why I always try to average $1,000 a day. That's it. I just need to average $1,000 a day. That's it. If I can average $1,000 a day, you know, I'm good. Because on Friday, I'm at $4,000 now. On Friday, just averaging $1,000 a day. And that Friday load gives you your weekend load. You know, so when I get my weekend load, and now my weekend load is like 26, 28, now I'm doing my $6,800 that I normally do. But depending on where I'm going, I may do the 2,500 depending on where I'm going, and that gets my 65. So that's why I average between 65 to 6,800 a week, especially when I'm staying out. When I go home, I don't average that much because I got to cut out a whole extra day. So I go down to averaging between 55 to 58, sometimes 53, sometimes 54, but it fluctuates. It's more around 55, 56 than it is 52, 53, 54. So that's how it normally runs like that. So yeah, man. So I'm like, you know, this Trump effect, and these states that's catching on and passing their own little things that they're doing because of it. You know, it only helps at the end. At the end of the day, it only can help. You know, it's a shame. I know people have to do what they have to do for their family, and they're doing what they are doing for their family. But take that same energy though. If you take that same, if you're doing all this stuff for your family, making all these sacrifices and stuff for your family, take that same energy and learn the language. Learn how to read and write the language. Okay, learn how to read and write the language, right? And then do what you have to do for your first year, 2 years. After that, work on getting your citizenship. Work on getting a work visa the right way. You know, you can come in here illegally, go through immigration attorneys and these programs, and then work on your work visa. I know people who have done that. When I was a chef, I know people that have done that. You know, their brothers had done that. They came into the country illegally while they was in here. Oh, he done dropped his trailer, y'all. He done dropped his trailer. He done dropped his trailer. Yeah, hello. He done dropped his trailer, y'all. Oh, goodness. Oh. Did he? Yep. Oh, goodness. Yes, Lord. Yeah, dropped the trailer, y'all. Man. Let me get off here and go help him see if he need any help with anything. It looked like all his lines and stuff was connected. So he may be all right. But I'll talk to y'all later.